And welcome to part 3. And well, with a title like this, do you think maybe we'll finally get an actual origin story to the whole werewolf factor that's plagued this world? Yes? No? Maybe? Okay, just look at this cover. What do you see? Why, it's the two leads from the first two movies. In a prequel movie, yet their characters are still named like they were before, and act very much the same. Also, look at that one werewolf, it looks derpy. Okay, so is this really a reboot in disguise as a prequel? Well, whatever it is, Grant Harvey is directing it, and he originally helped produce the second movie. Will we see another shift in tone like last time? Only one way to find out. It begins with a message that tells us that every spring, fur traders would go from some unknown fort toward Hudson Bay. Only when 1815 came around, this time, no one came back. And immediately we see that it's because werewolves. Way to spoil the big surprise. I mean, yeah, we know by now what to expect, but I at least would have wanted to wait a bit, especially since I want to know where these things keep coming from.
There are legends of the Wendigo and the coming of the red and the black. Legends of the day of reckoning, when death would consume the land and good would face evil. Of the day the curse would be broken forever, or grow stronger, and live on to plague generations to come.
Oh, so it's the plot to Wolfen. Well, I'm liking this Ginger already. She's not quite as mean as her earlier, or rather, later incarnations. They stumble upon a ruined campground that looks to have been attacked at one point, and suddenly we see an old Indian woman who vaguely explains what happened.
My sister, gone many summers, in the wind, in the trees, and in the blood. Sisters.
They were hers and her sisters. Thank you. Say thank you, Ginger. Thank you.
Kill the boy, or one sister kills the other.
Oh god, it's starting! And neither of them have been infected yet! Their horse gets scared by something and runs off, and when they go after it, they end up losing it. Bridget ends up getting her foot caught in a trap, so Ginger tells her she's going to get help from that woman earlier, but finds her gone. But they aren't alone.
100! You stay away from you son of a bitch!
Damn, he's a tough bastard. But what did you expect? He's a hunter.
Mahigan, stump.
Did he just whistle at us?
I'm sure he meant the dog.
So he leads them to Fort Bailey, where we meet the sergeant of the fort, James, who turns out to be rather strict. But at least in this time period, we don't have to worry too much about modern day insults.
We don't ever open the gate for anyone we don't know, do we? Bloody idiot.
It's nearly nightfall. We were looking for shelter.
Here we never talk out of turn, and while I'm spitting, it is always my turn. But I see it is not the first time your mouth has made you trouble, is it?
Me and my big mouth.
Sergeant Major, stand down.
This is Wallace, played by Tom McCamus. He learns from the two that they apparently were with their father on a fur run, but had their boat turned over. The Reverend, Gilbert, isn't too willing to let them stay, but Wallace lets them. But first, they need to check that wound.
You'll have an ugly scar, but you'll keep the foot. If we make sure it doesn't turn septic.
So yeah, I think by now the motive of this movie is to go over the whole werewolf origin while focusing the plot on dealing with a larger swarm of them. It just felt like a weird excuse to try and tie the sisters into this by saying their ancestors once went through the same thing. Sorta. Because their upbringing differs from their modern day counterparts, they lack the fascination in death and instead have formed more of a woodsman personality where they have to act tough and know how to fight in order to survive out here. Though what made the girls relatable in the first two movies was that their problems were about as real as they could get before the werewolf stuff kicked in, so it was almost realistic in that regard. Here, I can't help but feel this is going to turn into a Hansel and Gretel witch hunters thing, where they took two characters and put them in a scenario that has them killing supernatural creatures. The girls do show signs of that sisters for life, we die together mentality, but it's light in comparison to the first movie. Anyway, the leeches are meant to determine whether or not she's been infected with the werewolf curse, though they don't know that yet. Instead, they think it might have been pox, but no one's really saying anything. Also, hi Jeremy's actor! Jeremy might have died early last time, but here he'll get to live just a bit longer. Dinner time, and really, this is to establish that some of these men will be vital to the plot, but the others will likely die first. As for that hunter guy, he doesn't get a name. He's just the hunter. He is pretty badass though.
I have my own. I stay because it is mine.
Time for more freaky imagery, even though again, no one's been infected yet. This sort of thing happened a lot during the second movie, but it made sense as it was a sign of the werewolf curse kicking in. But nothing like that has hit anyone yet, so it might as well just be related to spiritualism or something. Ginger hears the sound of someone crying and ends up in the room with a small boy. What could this mean? Quasimodo, no! Well, she got out fine. Just got a bite on the shoulder, though werewolves never let people go, so what the heck? They decide it's time to leave, taking a couple swords for protection, but that won't save them from a surprise attack from James.
Get up! So I can rattle your pretty mouth again.
Oh, great. I was wondering when we'd have our first real major asshole of the movie. Kick his ass!
Come on.
Or do that works too. But before we can determine if Bridget can shoot him down, the fort comes under attack by you-know-what.
Owen! Man, get down here! They're on top of us! Get up! We're coming! Help me! Tabarnak!
So long, random person! Reverend Not Frollo leads the girls to safety, away from the werewolf that got in, but surprise! The werewolf was where they got led into. Why is the Reverend so against these girls?
2 months, this fort has been in the devil's grip, and you two little girls walk right through our door. The devil's wickedness. This place is to be drowned like a newborn deformity, to be cut out like a bleeding cancer, to be cast into hell like a stinking whore.
That's not a good answer, buddy. After getting trapped for a moment, they get saved by the hunter. Even though Wallace has a good opportunity to listen to these girls that the Reverend nearly got them killed, he just ignores them in order to deal with the problem at hand.
It has begun. Black. The red.
Oh yeah, this was brought up earlier too. It's supposed to determine the fate of the curse we've seen, but for now, Ginger's been infected. Guess she'll start going back to mean Ginger again? Aw, here I thought the hunter was mysterious, badass, and had something to protect. Now he's smooching Ginger? Or wait, was that a dream? What the hell is going on? They go see the doctor and find Finn killing leeches, making it seem like he got infected.
we're almost there.
Nice effect, but what the hell was that? The leech went nuts over the werewolf blood and even grew in size. I guess it's the only way to know, but still. What kind of leeches are these? Well, no way they're staying after that. We learned that the ones who disappeared during the spring are the ones who've turned into werewolves. One of them was this guy's brother, apparently.
We pack up, we get the hell out of here. We move at night, we rest during the day. If the hunter leads us...
No savage is leading me anywhere.
You don't have to come. I'm sick of your bile.
You're the one fathering their whelps.
I'm gonna rip your filthy tongue out of your skull!
Seamus! None of it makes any difference. The hunter to guide us will be taking down him with us. We've no choice. Do you understand?
Come on, Ginger.
This is the fight. And if it's to be fought here, then so be it.
You're way too stubborn for your own good. Clearly you're outmatched by these creatures of the night. Just go home and come back when you have a proper army. But apparently it's personal, since his wife and son were killed. But Ginger knows better. Based off the toys that were in the room they were staying in, and the child she found, Jeffrey, as he's called, is actually the little werewolf kid. Later, Ginger gets a visit from one of the Indians who may or may not know about her infection, but warns her about it while showing off the same mark as that one guy. Okay, next.
But verily I say unto thee, those that court sin shall be lost to the fire. They shall become the very armies of the beast. No longer can we flout God. No longer can we give refuge to the evil amongst us. No longer can we cast our seed into the dusky heathen bitch. For he who was cast down into the fire is upon us, and his name is Legion, for he is many!
Oh crap. The Reverend's secretly a member of the Burning Legion. He's gonna call upon the demons to slay everyone in this fortress. This plot is all over the place. Is the hunter trying to free his companions during all this? And that's why they suspect him? Does Ginger meeting Jeffrey's ghost do anything for the plot or her transformation? Speaking of Jeffrey, Wallace tells Bridget about the fact his son turned because he found Ginger's necklace in his room, which may indicate that he knows her infection too. I can't help but feel this is all building up to something, but unlike the first two movies, I can't feel any attachment because there hasn't been anyone to really like. Not even the girls, who usually had something to relate to. But here they're just random travelers who get dragged into this unfortunate circumstance while putting up with explorers who may or may not be assholes. It's just not as interesting this time around, and almost feels a bit bland in that regard. The only thing that makes me curious is what happens when the boy dies. Will it really lift the curse? Or will it just make people angry? Either way, since Jeffrey is on the loose, this guy gets to die. You know, Wallace first noticed his son was missing, or did he? Either way, Ginger gets framed for this because Jeffrey took some hair from her and planted it on him.
Okay, get her out.
On second thought, I'm starting to miss the modern day versions of these two. At least they don't always let themselves get pushed around or manhandled. Wallace comes to the rescue as he saves Bridget and goes to save Ginger.
You never left your sister's side.
Leech the witch.
Reverend, I suggest you lower your weapon or I will, by God, introduce you to him.
This plague has come because of your love for your savage wife. It is your sin that has brought the devil upon us.
Oh, Saint Maria, why is this man so ignorant? Before the doc can get the leeches on her, Wallace is forced to shoot him, which gets everyone to back off. He tells the two that Ginger has to go, but Bridget can stay. But Ginger is defiant and really wants to kill Jeffrey if it means staying with her sister, as she goes out with just a cloak that in no way makes her suspicious or stand out, She watches that one guy she met get kicked out for being a half-breed. And Hunter guy isn't going to do anything, even though it looks like he was friends with him. No, instead he acts like he knows the truth about Ginger. In fact, he even confronts Bridget about it.
What do you want?
I've known you before I found you in the woods. Since I was a boy, I've seen your face in dreams. I prepared my whole life to meet with you. Dreams told me to protect you.
And kill my sister.
If I wanted to kill either of you, I could have many times. I am forbidden to kill her. The seer believes our fates are tied together.
You know the old woman?
She is an elder with sight. Come with me, and she'll show us the truth.
They really want him tied into this whole werewolf situation, but the more they keep at it, the more vague it gets. Hell, at this point, it's not even so much a horror movie anymore, as it is a suspenseful drama. Ginger finds Jeffrey by his mother's grave, but is unable to go through with killing him, which means the other soldiers will get him instead.
Boy's back from the dead. You've been telling us lies. My son, he's my responsibility. He's not your son anymore. Look at him.
You fucked us.
You haven't just killed Murphy. You killed everyone here. It's my concern. What about Murphy's concern? And Owen's? Finn's?
He killed Seamus.
They do have a point, and it's really hard to sympathize with him at this point, since really, he could have just let everyone else go and stay here and mourn alone. Instead, he got more people killed than needed, and while it looks like a change in command will happen, he ends up shooting his son anyway, which means Ginger can't return to normal. The girls also get the boot. Bridget insists they need to find the hunter, so they end up asking Milo, who they run into again outside the fort. During the search, Bridget gets separated, and we do get one moment of suspense as we don't know if this is a werewolf or Ginger that ends up killing Milo. They find the hunter in the cave, and we learn the true origin of this curse.
The English and the French brought with them their diseases to plague our land. And with them came the Wendigo. This was all foretold, watched for. And with the Wendigo would come two sisters, the red and the black. And their love and their deaths would decide the way of things.
So basically, the moral of this movie is that all the fault belongs to the French. God damn you, Napoleon. The seer gives Bridget something that will let her see the future, and after he takes off his shirt so he can do this as well, okay, they proceed to do just that. And I guess going into a trance makes your irises enlarge. It, of course, ends with her trying to save Ginger from the hunter, but she kills her instead. When she snaps out of it, Ginger is gone and the seer is dead. Yet somehow the hunter survived, despite being in the cave with them. His vision had him die in it, meaning he will die soon, but hopefully Ginger dies first. Right? They go back to the fort, where for some reason they want to take Bridget prisoner, which is fine for the hunter since Ginger's going to have to come back for her anyway. Reverend Not Frollo reenacts Hunchback of Notre Dame by telling her to beg for forgiveness before getting spat on.
Witch, temptress, disciple of the devil.
2.
No longer will your evil tempt us.
3.
If you will not beg for mercy, mercy shall be inflicted upon you.
Though even Frollo was more memorable and complex than Gilbert, the hunter does what he can to stall as Ginger shows up in camp. As for Gilbert, well...
Man. Just like that bitch wife of yours.
Forgive me, Father. I've sinned.
40.
Like fire, hellfire, this fire in my skin.
Meanwhile, James confronts Ginger and beats up on her for a bit before finally getting a moment of satisfaction from her. I don't know how she got those things under her command, but at this point, I'll take anything that could be reasonably awesome. So people start dying in gruesome ways, and while Wallace is more lawful neutral, he unfortunately gets attacked anyway. He does free Bridget before deciding to set the fortress ablaze, and before killing himself, all while the hunter kicks some ass.
99. 100. Ginger.
Yeah, he's a goner, but Ginger does show up for her sister, so it's now or never. Will Bridget kill her sister, or will she be defiant to the end?
Together forever.
Well, that answers that, and thus it ends as it began, with a cold finisher.
I'm cold. I'm not. The day of reckoning. The day the curse grew stronger in the red and the black. Sisters united in blood. Together forever.
Yeah, I didn't really like this one all that much. I mean, I didn't think there was any way to continue after the first or second movie, and even though they had some good ideas with the werewolf origin story, it still didn't make for a good plot. Neither Ginger or Bridget really get to shine all that much in the way of character development like in their earlier movies, and their involvement here just seems like a shoehorned attempt to keep the brand name going without abandoning the actresses. Most of the other characters don't really have much to like about them, and I feel indifferent about them even when the ones I want to die do die off. The effect work is still pretty good. The practical effects remain to be one of the strongest elements of this series, but by now, it felt the writing kept getting weaker as we have less focus on what made the first movie unique in characterization. It just came closer to being another werewolf movie that brings nothing new, making even the effect work be for naught, as you might not care by the time anything good happens. This, of course, leads to my final thoughts on the series overall, because if it isn't apparent enough, it felt like the films got weaker over time. But otherwise, the first movie starts out strong, the second movie well enough to where it could be a decent end for the series, but then the third movie ends up becoming an unnecessary addition to what should have ended 1 or 2 movies ago. It's the Borderlands of werewolf movies. And in the end, you might want to just skip this last one and stick with the first 2. As for me, I did get a good kick from seeing some nice werewolf action, and with the first 2 movies, some really good characters with well-meaningful development that I can see people relating to. So, thanks for that. Now, I could end this off with a special WoW cameo version of the 2 girls as Worgen, helping me battle Aragorn and his army of evil Worgen, while the Burning Legion comes knocking on Corazon's door because Patch Day said that's a thing now, but Model Viewer is still acting screwy, so I can't. Maybe next year I'll shoehorn it in for the next Werewolf-athon, so I'll just leave you all on a plain Happy Halloween! And remember to protect yourself even when you're doing it, or else you'll become a werewolf. Take care!